What time is it?
It's time for Moses Lake Live.
Holy crap, we got to get there. Hold on. 100 miles an hour, baby.
Oh, no.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you've got the right place. This is Moses Lake Live, and I've got a very special guest today. But I've got great news that Maya from Maya Flies is back with us. I'm going to bring her in with no additional to do. How you doing, Maya?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Well, I've been flying airplanes, going all over the place. The baggy eyes and tired look is because I had a 16-hour flight day yesterday, and
Oh
the
my
only thing,
goodness.
yeah, the only thing that kept me awake was the sound of the passengers screaming in the back of the airplane.
How to keep you awake?
So yeah, so they upgraded me to the I'm at a hotel. This is like the suite. I got like this like
Ooh,
massive. I got a dining room behind me. I got a kitchen and I don't know, it's crazy. So
fancy.
yeah, I like it. So how you been? What have you been up to?
I've been doing great. I've been extremely busy. I joined track this year, and that has taken up so much of my time, but it is so nice to be back doing these lives, and hopefully I can be in more of them in the future. But yeah, it is so nice to be back, and I'm super excited for our guest today.
That's great. Yeah, and she's a great guest because what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is give you a different perspective of an air show environment, right? I'm a performer. We're the clowns in the circus, right? We're out there having fun, but we have there's a professional cadre of people behind the scenes that really do the hard work, and so for those of you that may not, first of all, before I even preview who we have on, we've got a very special announcement coming up towards the end of the show. We got a brand new act that's booked for the Moses Lake Air Show. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, go to Moses Lake Air Show's website, go to moseslakeairshow.com and buy your dad a ticket, a VIP ticket, a very
Oh
special
yeah.
ticket for your dad, because your dad wants you to take them to the Moses Lake Air Show in June, Father's Day weekend. So don't miss that. But we'll do more on that later. So, and as well, I'm going to give away, see this really cool sticker?
Oh yeah, that
Brand?
is awesome.
Yeah. Anybody on the show, you send an email to us, renegadeav8r@gmail.com. We'll send you one free of charge. I'm even paying for the stamp because we love you when you join us here on Moses Lake Live. And we love you at the Moses Lake Air Show even better. And the VIP tickets are selling out. So a shameless plug before we bring on the fun part of the show, which is our guest. I need to plug the Moses Lake Air Show, 15, 16 June this year, 2024. Don't go next year. We'll have a brand new show then. This year, this Father's Day, buy your dad a ticket to the Moses Lake Air Show. And if you don't have a dad, go find somebody else's dad and buy them a ticket. And if your mom wants to go too, buy her a ticket.
Buy
Anyway,
everyone a ticket at
buy
this point.
everybody a ticket. All right. Well, what I'm going to do today, Maya, have you heard of the term Air Boss? You probably have.
I have, but I know a few people, or quite a few people in my comment section have not. So
Well,
maybe explain.
as a military guy, Air Boss has a connotation, right? So the Air Boss is a Navy term. So everybody watches Top Gun and all this kind of stuff. And there's an Air Boss. Remember when Tom Cruise buzzed the tower? And of
Oh
course,
yeah.
he spilled the coffee all down on his shirt. So that was the Air Boss. So the Air Boss has control of the airspace on that U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, and they are responsible. So as pilots, and you're a future pilot, you're a solo pilot, you're getting your license, and as a pilot myself, we are responsible. And so the Air Boss has responsibility for everything we do in the airspace. So before I introduce our guest, let me show a real quick video of This is Donna Flynn, and she is the air boss for the Moses Lake Airshow. You're going to love talking to her.
Air traffic, air show in progress over the field. Surface to 8,000 feet, 5 nautical mile radius. Any conflicting traffic, showbox 122.9.
Ready? Let's go. Air shows are my life.
Showbox sector clear on Charlie. Works for me, not a problem. If you want to do that, just remember the no-fly line.
Cuts across the runway.
Hey, boss, Renegade Aviator, holding short 3-2 right, ready to go for the Moses Lake Air Show. How you doing, Donna?
Good morning. I'm doing just great, and I'm really excited to be coming back to Moses Lake in June.
It was great. I got to meet you last year. We were up on the podium there together. Saw you work. Did a fantastic job. A great attitude. And when we were looking at our guests, we said we've got to get Donna on the show. Maya and I were talking and said we got to get Donna on the show because people just don't see the insider view of air shows. And you've got the best inside view. You've got the good, the bad, the ugly, and you've got that responsibility. So, I say this a lot. We are responsible. I'm responsible for everything that goes on with my aircraft, and you're responsible for that airspace at the Moses Lake Airshow.
That is correct. It is a big responsibility. I've been doing it for a long, long time. And you mentioned something at the top of the show that you're one of the clowns in the circus. And my husband said to me many years ago, I'm the one with the top hat in the circus. So we kind of gather our ducks, and it is my responsibility to make sure I keep you and the public safe.
Absolutely, because it's a dynamic environment. And my goal with this, and Maya as well, I mean, we want to get the word out of the amount of, not complexity, but the amount of checks and balances that go on at an air show so that everybody has a great time when everybody gets down safely, right? Most people are amazed that we can take off and land an airplane, but it's more than just that. It's more than just the pilots getting together and rolling down the runway. Could you give us just a little bit of an understanding of kind of just some of the basic ground rules, the basic dimensions of that air show box and what's involved?
Of course. As you said, it's pretty complex. So early in the year, I'll start doing things such as getting the temporary flight restrictions, apply for them, apply to the FAA as well for the waiver, so that we can change and adjust some of the rules that we have normally in place to change so that you can do the things that you do. Flying aerobatically is not normal. So it allows us to change and get everything in place. One of the first things I think we might want to talk about is the TFR. So it's called the Temporary Flight Restriction Area. So a TFR for the Moses Lake Airshow will be 5 nautical miles up to 15,000 feet. When that time period that is in for the air show, that airspace is restricted. No one can go into that airspace without talking to me and getting permission. That helps keep you safe in your jet as you're flying around during your performance, as well as a lot of the military flybys. We have another great performer with the military this year. I don't know if you've announced her or not, but we get all that airspace just to keep you safe. So you can see what a large area that it is. The box itself is that very colorful area in the middle, and the TFR is centered on the center of that box. So everything goes out from there. So we have a lat long, and that is the center that we center everything on. So that's basically the TFR. You want to go to the box? We can zoom in on the box.
Jordan will find the picture. It's good.
He will.
Yeah, so you know that TFR and you know people talk about that a lot and they don't really know and you've explained it fantastic. I mean, because we're focused on flying lower than normal, doing things that we normally don't do in an air show, and we need to have that confidence that you've got R6, right? That you're watching that airspace, that we can maneuver. You know, we're always looking for traffic, and it's a team, right? It's not that you're by yourself either. We're noticing things. We're going to call stuff out. You've got ATC support behind you as well, making sure we have a clear airspace. And then we're focused on those show lines, on those markers to keep us properly positioned in front of the crowd. I know we have a graphic on that, and when Jordan finds it, we'll bring it up. It's not a problem. But Maya, I don't want to hog the show. Do you have any initial questions? Otherwise, I'll just keep blabbing.
No, you're good. I'm just looking at the comments. So just as a reminder, people, for whoever's watching, feel free to ask any questions. I will try my best to bring it up in conversation to have the amazing Renegade Aviator and our Air Boss answer. And if you have any questions for me, I mean, I'll answer them too. But yeah, I don't know. This is all really cool. I don't think people realize how much behind the scenes work gets put into air shows. I mean, I was completely oblivious until this year, until I was a part of that process. And it is so much work, and there's so many fantastic people who put a ton of time and effort into this. And I think it's really cool to share with the public, like, how talented some of these people have to be to get this air show to run smoothly. So I think this is a really cool perspective for a lot of people to see.
Yeah, the box itself, everything that the Air Boss takes care of applies in front of that crowd line. So there are many other people on an air show site working like crazy to make all of the other grounds happen, all that kind of thing. Vendors and so many volunteers are needed, and they do such an awesome job.
Well, you know, Donna, one thing that struck me when I transitioned, you know, when I started out as a private pilot, just like everybody, and, you know, we went and flew and we did our pre-flight. But when I got into the air show environment, what struck me, which is something that we don't do enough of in regular flying, was that pre-brief, that debrief, and that's yours, right? You own that, and you look those pilots, all of us, in the eye. You need to have the you know, our trust, and we need to have your trust, and you own that, Sky. And so could you go over a little bit about what that brief entails? Because I think a lot of people may not understand what we're briefing when we show up that day prior or 2 days prior.
Absolutely. The pilot briefing, I feel, is the best and last chance for me to get everyone playing from the same sheet of music. So as we go into the briefing, it starts on time. It usually happens a few hours prior to the air show start itself. And we'll run through various things, such as explaining the box, the TFR, explaining safety parameters, all kinds of stuff, the schedule, weather. And if we have to have someone speak from tower, if they have any special needs or anything like that, that's the chance that we get to get everybody in the room thinking on the same lines. So it usually lasts about 30 minutes. And yeah, every day, it happens every single day. So I've done hundreds and hundreds of briefings.
And I know, you know, there's, from the insider side, I mean, is there some kind of interesting things that happen that maybe I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot, right? But some funny or interesting or near miss type stories. Now, people say near miss. We talk in aviation. Somebody's asking about what does TAF mean? I don't know. That's my wife. I'll answer her question later. But TFR was already explained. But where was I going with that? You know, some insider things that people may not normally hear about at an air show. Does that make sense?
There's some interesting things that do happen at shows. I'm not sure if I'm going to hit the point that you wanted, but at one briefing, I was leading a very large show, and we had the president come in, not into our briefing, but into our airspace. And apparently his TFRs trump ours, so,
Yeah.
so to speak. So it was looking like we weren't going to be able to put a show on for 1.2 million people that day. And so I was gotten into a fellow from the Secret Service gave me a call and said, hey, I'd like to meet you and talk to you about the show today and whether we're going to let you run it or not. So he said, I'll meet you at your hotel and in the lobby. And I said, sure. I said, how will I recognize you? And he said, I'll be the one in the trench coat and the sunglasses. And sure enough, he had the trench coat and sunglasses on.
That's awesome.
But we did discuss the parameters of the show, and they decided very happily to let us run the show. So we were very fortunate. Other than that, we have lots of little nuanced things that happen. One thing you mentioned respect to me once, Dave, and it truly is. People need to respect the Air Boss, and I added it up. I'm almost 40 years in. I have only been disrespected twice. And that's a great deal of people that I've had to deal with that have been extremely, extremely good to work with. And it goes both ways. I have to respect what you do, give you the time to refresh and make sure you're ready for your show. If something's on your mind or something has happened, I've had people that have had family members get sick or hurt, and I need to approach them and make sure they're safe for flight, make sure that they're okay to do so. Those kinds of things, those pieces are a mutual respect.
Absolutely. Donna, what does it take? You said 40 years. I mean, how does somebody that says, look, I want to do what you do, how does somebody get started in that? And I'm sure it's not easy. And like everything else, and I've got two daughters, I say, after 40 years, we're an overnight success. So, how does one do what you do, Donna?
Yeah, well, my roots started way back a long time ago, and I became a commercial pilot, and I just happened to be at an air show, and they said, hey, you've got a 185. Why don't you take our photo guy up and go back and forth in front of the crowd and get some shots? And I went, sure. And then the next year they said, well, you fly. Why don't you take care of our civilian performers? Sure. So then the next year the Air Boss quit. And they said, well, you fly. You should be the Air Boss. But that was back in 1989 when there was no real formal training at that time. The International Council of Air Shows was very young. And so it was trial by fire. Nowadays, if people do want to become an Air Boss, it really is a really cool field to get into in aviation. And basically, they should get with a mentor. So find out, go to shows, talk to the Air Bosses, find one that might have them come along, bring you along, and then start taking the courses and things like that to get accredited. We need to be accredited to the level that we need to work certain shows. I'm accredited at the highest level that we can get in the United States and Canada. I think I'm the only female in both countries actually that are accredited. But so I am accredited at a very complex air show, multiple fields, things like that. So go find a mentor, find someone to help you.
Maya, would you agree with that? You're brand new. Have you found mentors and people that'll help you? I mean, I like to pass the questions back and forth because that's
yeah, for sure. I think the biggest part of aviation and like finding a career in aviation is through connections and mentors and everything. I've found like a handful of great people who have helped me throughout like my aviation journey, whether it's like knowing them in person at my flight school or like knowing you guys, just like taking me under your wing and like helping me like, I don't know, co-host my first air show, which is crazy. But yeah, it's just all connections. So if any of you guys watching are like, oh, I don't know if I should do this, go talk to people who've already done it. I'm sure they're more than happy to show you the ropes and everything. And I don't know, like people are awesome in the aviation community.
Absolutely. Come and see us. If it's before the show and you see the Air Boss up on that stage with the announcer, like Dave. If you see us standing there, we're setting up. And if we can't talk, we will let you know and we can talk later. But we've had many, many people come back year after year and get more and more information. And some of them actually did become air bosses. So if you're interested, come and talk with us, and we'll more than happy.
Well, it's one thing I say to everybody. You mentioned it already, Donna. You said yes, right? So you were available, and then you said yes because we're asked of things, right? And so if we're open and approachable as well, and willing to do those entry level things. When I first started around the Reno air races, I had a finger pointed in my face and said, "I've got no business flying a military jet." Because I wasn't a military pilot, and how dare I even want to be involved, right? And then somebody said, "Hey, you know what? If you want to do something, you can fill up these coolers of soda and ice so that the pilots, the racer, and I said yes. And you said yes to taking photographers up, right? So when we say yes and when we're of service, and this is a service industry, right? Donna, you and I as performers, Maya, you as social media, we serve, right? If it's about us, it's going to be short lived, but we do air shows because we love the fans. We love the environment. We love sharing aviation, our addiction. It's not a passion for me. I'm addicted to it.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I agree. Yeah, many shows and the feel on a show site, the kids, looking at all the kids. I love to turn around in between acts or something, turn around and just look at the crowd and see little kids with, riding those little trikes and airplanes in their hands. It's amazing. It's all about family.
Yeah, I think it's really important to inspire the next generation of aviators. That's how I sort of view my social media is that how I got into aviation is when I went to my first air show. I went to the Fairchild Air Force Base and saw the Thunderbirds perform. And ever since then, it has been my dream, my goal to be involved somehow in aviation, most likely a pilot. So I'm working on that. But it all started at the air show, and I don't think people realize how critical and important all these air shows and performers are to the future generations. Because if we show the younger generation how absolutely cool aviation is, and hey, you could do this. This is possible. I started flight training when I was 15. You can do it now, and it inspires so many people, and it is so fun just to see an entire crowd get the flying bug at the same time. And I love air shows.
The one thing I want to mention too is on the Air Boss side of it, you don't have to be a pilot. You don't. You just need to know the rules and learn and be mentored or whatever, and then take the courses and pass the tests that is needed. But you don't necessarily have to have a pilot's license. And a lot of people think that you do, and you don't.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for people who, for some medical reason, for something that if they can't get their medical, but they still love aviation, it's a great career path, and to still show your love for aviation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
Sorry, Donna. No, go ahead.
Just wondering if Jordan ever found that graphic with the box.
I was thinking the same thing, because that's what I was going to bring up, because people ask, how close are we to the crowd, right? What does a show line mean? Heck, half the time, we as aviators, we may be asking you questions. Well, what show line should I be on? Am I doing a level pass? I'm at this such and such speed. So if you have that graphic, Jordan, there we go.
Oh, there we are.
There we go. So that is the box from looking up above, because that is a question that comes up. How close, how far, how fast, how slow?
Exactly. So if you look at the what would be the top to bottom runway, let's say north-south, just for all intents and purposes, that runway is open during the show, but the one that runs perpendicular with the box, along the box, is closed so that we can put static aircraft, the crowd, we can park the flying aircraft, that kind of thing. So the box at Moses Lake is 12,000 feet long by 2,700 feet deep. The center of the box, of course, is where we center the TFR, the temporary flight restriction, that moves out to that 5 nautical miles. We utilize 3 different lines normally during an air show. Sometimes, and most of the time, a lot of the time we don't utilize the center green line. Those 3 green lines are the show lines. The crowd line is the yellow along the runway. That is where people can't go past. Then it's 500 feet straight out to the first line, another 500 feet out to the 1,000-foot line, and another 500 feet out to the 1,500-foot line. The 1,500-foot line is considered the Category 1. The 1,000-foot line is Category 2, and the 500-foot show line is Category 3. Dependent on the speed of the aircraft and that kind of thing, that's what will determine what line the aircraft will fly. For example, an A-10 can fly some maneuvers closer than the 1,500 foot, but it must normally utilize that 1,500-foot show line, the Cat 1, which is the furthest one out. So those are the 3 main show lines. So you'll see a small Pitts flying much closer to the crowd. They'll be on that 500-foot show line. It's extremely important for us to mark those lines so that it's very clear to people who are flying. As you can imagine, the smaller aircraft and larger aircraft, they're cleared to the surface. So not necessarily will they go to the surface, but they actually will hold a SAC card or a statement of aerobatic competency that will allow them to certain levels. So we must mark these boxes really, really well. So you'll see things used on the Cat 1, which is that furthest one, lots of equipment from an airport, things like that. So it's very visible to a very fast moving aircraft like Dave's coming in at a high speed. It's easier for them to pick up those lines. The closer line, we will usually mark with things like pallets covered in bright tarps or outhouses or things like that, because again, those ones can't be too tall, but they do need to be visible. Around the corners of the box, those will be marked as well, each of the corners. And we usually use fire people for that, or airport vehicles. They will go out and stand ready. We also will have fire trucks based in and around the box for fast response. We strive in the airshow industry to have a 1-minute response to any incident. So you can imagine we have to really plan where we're going to put those trucks. Basically, that's the box in itself. The boxes do change size and a bit of dimension, but those lines, those 3 green lines, do definitely stay the same. Anyway, that's just a quick overview.
Because you've got, I mean, you're answering to regulatory officials as well. You're answering to a whole host of different people. You're coordinating with Crash Fire Rescue, with ATC, with all that. And there's times when a pilot may go up and not see a marker, or may cut a marker once in a while, or may truly have some questions. And that's what that debrief is for, right? So every morning when you get back together with those pilots, and you're asking those questions. I mean, I've watched you do it last year. It's the first time I met you was last year, and you're asking, how can you guys, how does everybody see those panels? Do you see the marker? What are we not doing? What should we be doing more of? So this is why air shows are so safe, right? We manage risk. We can never get rid of risk, but the Air Boss is there to manage the risk, to direct the traffic. There's a lot going on. If one jet's taxiing out, there may be somebody else flying, and that's all you, Donna. You're given that clearance to taxi, to start the engines, to, we've got, it's an orchestra, right? You're that director of the orchestra, because, and you've got to have confidence that that air crew is going to be ready. They're going to, I taxied out of an air show. Actually, Kelly was the air boss. Yeah. So I taxied out. It was a practice day. I taxied out. I had great radio reception out of the hot pit. When I got to the end of the runway, I heard her clear me for takeoff. I answered. She didn't hear me. I scrubbed my flight, taxied back because I wasn't in the air yet. And so I went to her. I said, "Are we cool?" Right? Because I scrubbed the flight. And yeah, they were, because I wasn't sure I was going to have a good radio once I rolled down the runway. So it's that kind of back and forth that we're cross-checking each other. But I think you'd agree, we all err on the side of safety.
Yep. And those are the things that we do also brief as well, as you know, lost communications, things like that. So you follow what's briefed. You brief what you brief really well, and then you fly what's been briefed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I see Shane there, help fight a fire, right? Look at that. Look at that. Can you tell? Oh yeah. How dynamic can the air show be? I'm sure you have a lot of dynamic things that go on that are nothing bad, but just dynamic. Maybe you could share some of that with us.
Well, to have United 747 fly a profile down to 300 feet around Alcatraz, it's pretty dynamic.
Oh my goodness.
It's pretty cool. They come out and do it twice, and there's 3 people on board a 74. Well, it used to be a 74, now it's a wide body, so 777 or 787. But they will come out and do their profile at the beginning of the show, 10 minutes, go up over the crowd, gone out to the hold, and come back just before the Blue Angels fly and do it all over again. So some things are pretty cool. Of course, the jet teams and the jet demos are amazing. They're so professional and wonderful to work with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Donna, words of advice for, performers, let's say. I'm going to be selfish. Words of advice for performers coming to air shows when they want to get along, and I try to get along with everybody, but when they want to do what they do, right? Hair on fire, but you also want to do it right. Words of advice from you from the Air Boss.
On arrival, make sure that they know in advance what your needs are: fuel, smoke, oil, things like that. And once you arrive, make sure you get to the briefings, get with the Air Boss. Don't say, "Oh, I didn't know there was a briefing." And then 3, take time before you do your act and go find a quiet place in your car or somewhere and take 30 minutes just for yourself. And then after, you get out into that crowd and you sign autographs and you give out stickers, because that's so important. Those are kind of the main things that I come off the top of my head.
Right on. Right on. That's great. And as you know, Tom Larkin, he's at the show. You'll see Tom after every flight walking the crowd. So, and that's great to hear. Great advice, yeah. Donna. And, you don't mean that any of the performers are not above showing up into the briefing?
Absolutely. Absolutely not. Everyone must have a representative. If it's a team, they have to have a flying representative from the team, just so that they can brief. You can't expect, every one of the Snowbirds or every one of the Blues or Thunderbirds to show up, but they have a designated pilot that comes to the briefings each day. As for yourself, if you were transiting or something and you were coming in to do flybys in a C-17, I could do a remote briefing with them because it's logistically impossible to be in the room. I do that as well with a lot of our remote shows where we have not the luxury of having everyone in the room.
Right on. Right on. Maya, any closing questions from you?
I'm looking at the comments. Not many questions have come through, but I think it's been super valuable for people and for me to learn about the box and everything. I didn't know about that. I knew of it, but all the different zones and categories, that makes total sense, and it was really interesting to learn. But yeah, I'm totally looking forward to coming and hanging out with you guys at the air show. It is going to be so fun to learn as much as possible, and maybe I'll become an Air Boss in the future. Who knows?
Sure.
It seems really fun.
It is. It's a lot of responsibility, but it is definitely worth it, or I wouldn't have kept doing it for so many years.
That would make sense. Yeah. But
Right
yeah,
on.
thank you so much. That all this information has been super interesting to learn. And I'm sure the people in my comments and wherever you guys are watching this have found it super interesting as well.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody that shouted out some comments. I saw Ron, I saw Shane, Laura, Ty, I saw Jim. I got Jerry on my page here, and Tom. So everybody who's chiming in, thank you very much. There's more here. I can't read and talk at the same time. I'm a pilot.
Well, if you want, I'll jump out because I know you have a very special announcement
Well, I
coming
want
up.
to keep you on for it because
Okay.
I just want to I want to get your view on this. This is something different. So
Absolutely.
we've got the U.S. Air Force glider team that is going to be part of the Moses Lake Airshow. So my big question, and nobody's been able to answer, is the glider team getting their fuel reimbursed? That's a bad joke, but I had to do something.
That's actually really good.
So gliders, I mean, Donna, what is is there a separate challenge for having gliders do a performance like this?
Absolutely, because they have to get into the air somehow. So usually that needs the coordination on the ground to get the aircraft to the runway. So they're usually pushed, so it takes a while. And then they have to be hooked up to a tow aircraft and then get airborne. Once they release, then the lead aircraft or the tow aircraft has to land, and so does the glider, and then we have to get it off the runway. So depending on the winds, it can be a bit of a challenge.
So more dynamic. It's a dynamic environment. You're right. I mean, he doesn't have an engine, or she, whoever's flying it. Either one of the pilot has no engine. So they're doing what they do.
It's amazing.
It really is amazing. And I would be scared to death in a glider because I like to turn dinosaurs into noise. So a glider would scare me. And my Iskra doesn't glide very well, but maybe I should take a glider lesson. That's very cool.
It's amazing. Yeah. I'm so excited that they're coming to the show this year.
That's really, really fun. And I'm looking forward to it as well. So we're coming up. Maya, I know you've got to go somewhere. I've got to catch a flight. I've been on a long trip. So, the baggy eyes are earned after long flights and passengers screaming due to turbulence yesterday. But short of that, I'm heading to the airport. Maya's heading off to what you do. Donna, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, 15, 16 June, Moses Lake Airshow. Buy your tickets now. Your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, anybody you know, get those VIP seats. If you go to Renegade or you go to renegadeaviator@gmail.com, I will send you one of these because you showed up on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Ladies, my pleasure as well. You make me look good, so thank you very much.
My pleasure, you guys. I'm really looking forward to it. Super excited.
Yeah, this year is going to be amazing. But yeah, thank you, Donna, for coming on. It's been awesome to talk to you and get your insight on it. I look forward to working with you at the air show, and it's been awesome.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, you guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.
See you.
See you.